Hey everyone, it's Candice, and today we are talking homeschool transcripts. That's a question that I get a lot, and it is officially college application season. So I figure for all of our seniors who are um, hitting the ground running, trying to get things done last minute, as well as our parents of younger homeschool students who are just kind of thinking and planning ahead, this video is for you. Okay, so this question can kind of be super simple, super complex, a mixture of both, just because there are a lot of components involved. I am going to include in the description box a couple of links to some templates, resources for creating your own transcript. Um, if I can find my transcript, I may actually see if I can just kind of redact it and make a version. There's no promises. So if this is in the video, again, no promises, just see if it's there. If it's there, it's great. If not, the samples will be just as helpful. But today I just wanted to talk through what goes into the transcript, answer some of the questions that I've gotten in comments, and then please keep the dialogue going. I love to make these videos and help out as best as I can. If you see me look over here, it's because I did not want to forget any of my points. So I kind of have my screen up to remind myself of things to talk about. So this is what should be included on a high school transcript for a homeschool student. Number one is the name of the school. Some families actually have names. My school was called Children of Promise Academy. A lot of people also just use their names. You typically already know this because if you've been registering with whatever state or states you've lived in at this point, you probably have already had a name. But if you're new to homeschooling, you may not know about this. So again, you can name your school like we did, or you can just use your name. Sometimes people will just say like Johnson Academy. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to think that deeply about it, but you need the name of the school address, which is obviously your house. You'll want the school administrator and their contact information. That's typically mom or dad. So you'll put their name and like their phone number or email. If you have a separate email that you use just for school purposes, maybe it's like Johnson Family at Gmail or Johnson Academy, whatever, you can do that, or it can be your personal email. And then you want the student's name and contact information, which is going to be the same. That's kind of like the running joke with homeschool things. It's like everyone's got the same address, all the teachers have the same last name, that kind of thing. But you do want the contact information for the school and the student. That's usually somewhere at the top. The next thing that you want is your grading scale. So you want to use either a numeric or an alphanumeric system to say that this is what the score level is for a student to get, an A, B, C, D, etc. at this school. So if you want to say like a 90 starts with an A or whatever, that's kind of what it looks like. Again, I'll include some examples. And then if it's strictly numeric, it might just be that you don't actually get a letter grade, but you just have a number like I got an 82 in this class, a 94 in that class, etc., etc. Now, at this point, there are a couple of situations in which I am not personally experienced, but I can speak to just a little bit. And so I'm sure that there is a family watching this video that's going to say, hold on, the whole reason I'm homeschooling is to get away from this traditional idea of slapping a label, a letter, a grade, some type of indicator of fail, achievement, whatever, on my students' intellectual abilities, right? So there's a lot of families who homeschool and they don't go by traditional grade letter. I would say a lot of families probably do, but a lot also do not. So if you're sitting here and you are panicking and thinking, oh my gosh, like we have never run our school like that, that is not how we teach our students, our kids, that is absolutely fine, because there are a lot of students who get into college all the time who are homeschooling or unschooling or some variation of that, and they don't go by traditional grade letter. Again, I am not an expert at this, but I can tell you that if you are using some sort of kind of non-traditional grading scale for your student to evaluate their work, you will have to just kind of explain what that is. So an example is, how sometimes if you were to take a class where it's like pass fail, You can choose to pass fail the class, or even like sometimes in grad schools or law schools, it's like high pass, pass, provisional pass, fail, that kind of thing. And usually it's just those kind of three or four examples. And then there's always like a description. It's like someone did not meet the coursework, someone met the minimum requirements of the coursework, someone exceeded the requirements of the coursework. If you're doing some type of kind of non traditional grading system for your child, you'll want to explain what that is. So the point is, whatever your grading system is, however you evaluate your students' work and keep record of it, you want to make that as clear and explanatory in the transcript as possible. So again, for a lot of people, that's just going to be that chart that says these are the letters and these are the numbers. For other students, it might be, we do pass fail here, and that's what that means, or we do something else maybe that you've thought of. The way that you grade your child is totally fine. You just need to make sure that anyone seeing it for the first time can understand it. You can include test scores. So if your standardized test scores, so if your student has taken the ACT, the SAT, an AP exam, PSAT, anything like that, you can include those, the tests and the scores and the date that they were taken on the transcript. Um, these are technically considered self-reported in a way. Because the transcript is an official document, there is some validity to it. But yes, you are the parent, you are the administrator, and so there is a little bit of conflict of interest there, so to speak. So a student who wants to send their standardized test scores to a college will still need to, most likely send their official report directly from College Board or straight from the administrating organization, just because you should not think that just because you put a test score on the transcript that you aren't going to have to send an official report. Hopefully that makes sense. If it is confusing, let me know. But you can include that. If you don't want to include them or you didn't take them, then you just won't worry about that being on the transcript, but that is something that you can include. Now, the transcript is all about classes. So, this is what the bulk of the transcript will be. We're finally at the meat and potatoes of this conversation. So, you will need to list every class that your student took from grades 9 through 12, and the grades that they received for those classes. Now, how you arrange this is up to you. Some schools will arrange the transcript as like, here's all the math classes, all the English classes. So they arrange it by subject. And so you'll see like all the math classes, and it'll be like 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. Or you can organize the transcript by year. So these are all the classes that were taken in 9th grade, 10th grade, etc. If there was a difference from fall to spring semester, that would be indicated. If it's the same class throughout the year, it's a year-long class, then that would be indicated as well. And then if you are using a numeric or alphanumeric system, you'll calculate the GPA at the end of each year, and then you'll calculate the total GPA thus far on the transcript. And so that's usually just taking all of the numeric values of the grades for individual classes, averaging them out, and that's going to give you your GPA. You can choose if you want to have an unweighted or a weighted GPA. That also should be indicated on the transcript. An unweighted GPA is just taking the classes as they are, averaging them out, and getting the GPA from that point. A weighted GPA is when you take into account the difficulty level of the class. And so students who are in honors courses, IB program, taking AP classes, sometimes will be weighted on a scale of 5, for example, versus the typical 4, to basically indicate what their GPA is in uh, in the context of taking harder classes. Just for the record, homeschool students cannot take AP classes. They can take AP exams the same way they would the SAT or ACT. They will have to go to, a local like public school to take that. Homeschool parents cannot administer the AP exam, but homeschool students can take the AP exam. They cannot take AP classes. There are variations of the IB program that are available to homeschool families, so a student can participate in some IB coursework, and the same with the IB exams. They can take those administered at a local school. So if anyone had questions about that, you can do that. If you're using a curriculum, sometimes there are ways that you can take advanced coursework. Those are just a couple of examples. Even in traditional charter, public, private schools, some schools wait, some schools don't. Um, so everything, honestly, that I am explaining here is really just telling you what a transcript is and what it's made of. These are things parents typically don't have to think about because they're not the administrator. But everything that I'm discussing that's on the transcript will be, one, expected of you as a homeschool family, and two, is the exact same thing that every other um, student school will be sending on their transcript. Another question you might have is, what if my student is taking college courses? So let's say they take like a summer class at a university for credit. There's like pre-college programs for high school students that you can take. Let's say they're taking classes at the local community college. You will want to include those on their transcript. So you will want them to be there and say, you can have some type of code, Lake Community College, algebra, whatever. They'll still want to submit on their actual application the transcripts from that institution, but still include them on your own as well if they've taken classes somewhere else. You'll want to include the expected graduation date. You can put that at the top or the bottom of the transcript. I think it usually goes at the top. Um, and then that's pretty much it. If you are applying early or even kind of around the holidays, you typically don't have grades yet for 12th grade. So you can just list the grades that the student is enrolled, the classes the student is enrolled in. But you won't have grades yet. That's typically something a school will ask in a mid year report, which is usually just a form that a school you've applied to will send you and say, hey, let us know what your first half of the year grades are. They typically ask for it when a student has already applied and they're deliberating, going through the admissions process, and they just kind of want to see what you've done in that first half. So if you're applying kind of before that date, they'll typically ask you for that. If you're applying on the back end of the holidays, then you should already have that first half on the transcript and you'll just be waiting to fill it in at the end once they graduate. I think that is everything. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything important. Yeah, I think at this point, most people just have questions about formatting and what it should look like. And, every transcript looks a little different. Again, I'll include some examples so that you can take a look at them. It's always good to be able to have a precedent and kind of see what things look like and what's expected of you, but you do have a little bit of leeway in between then. And again, just know that admissions officers are seeing a lot of different documents from a lot of different places, and they are well aware of it, and they know how to evaluate and hold students up against one another and against, most importantly, the standards of that school's admissions policy. I see transcripts from everywhere, and you're taught and you learn how to read them. And so, as long as the information is there and it's clear, um, you'll be in good shape. So, good luck on all of your transcripts. I hope that I could relieve some anxiety and provide some information. It is a nerve wracking process, but there's a lot of resources there. And again, please be active in the chat as you all already are, or the comment section, I should say. So if you have more questions or you need clarification, I can do a video or even a short if it's something that's kind of simple. But yeah, I will see you all in the next video.